Hello, and welcome back. Phew. Wow, what am I doing? Oh yes! Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess, the first launch title for the Wii, way back when in 2006. Holy crap, it's almost been 5 years! 5 years since the Wii's been launched out. That is ridiculous. Ow, my foot. Sorry, I was fiddling with the TV, trying to turn down the volume. There we go. See, I'm not professional. Anyway, where was I? Twilight Princess. I have got the Wii version for last year's Christmas. And it took me about a year to beat it because I've been busy and I was more than so disinterested with the Wii's abilities and so on and so forth, and just never really pulled myself into it nor really cared. And just like, I guess I'll play it. And it's like, and it took me a year to beat it because I felt really off put by the motion controls and the whole thing of the mirror swapping and Link being right-handed. I'm kind of OCD like that, and it's not considered canonical, and just crap like that. But all that aside, I had fun with it. I really got into it, but, uh, um, how should I come about this? Should I go story-wise? Because it's very much, it's very much generic story of farm boy. Something happens in his village, and he goes off, tries to help them, and by some strange circumstance, he finds an unlikely ally to help him fight against the dark forces. Something to that effect, and it really does go off that way. And according to the according to like some fan timelines and stuff, this takes after the in the child timeline. That's a split timeline because linearists are fucking crazy, and this takes after Majora's Mask, sometime after the hero of time's passing, and so on and so forth. In now, we have this Link who is a farm boy in Ordon, which might have been the area where Lon Lon Farm must have been. There's this whole geography and crap in there. I'm not getting into that. This is about the game, not a whole history of blah 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 blah. In here, I find myself really intrigued by the design and the characters. It's more so. This is probably the most, how dare I say, realistic looking Zelda game. Oh, why am I always fucking yawning in my videos? Yawning. Yawning, not yawning. Blah, blah. Most realistic. In, as into the detail and characters and animations and so forth in the area. Uh, Coming off the last 3D game that was Wind Waker, that was very cartoonish. At first, I didn't like the cartoonishness of Wind Waker. I was really off put by it. It was like, what is this? What is Link's head is huge. I called him Beach Ball Head when I first saw him. For the longest time, I had this whole petty disdain toward it. But now I just love Toon Link. I love design. If they do any crossover with Mario or anything like that, Toon Link's the best thing to ease that in, because you can't have the realistic Twilight Link in there that just totally clashes with any other character, such as Donkey Kong, if it crossover. But moving on, I found myself really enamored by the graphics. It's a really beautiful looking game, even though it was meant for the GameCube, and they don't want to say fat ported it. They just ported it to here with motion controls and a fairy pointer, which I turned that shit off right away. I don't know. I just fairy on screen. I'm like, no. I'll play this semi old school, do traditional wiggling the flailing the Wiimote, which that does come into a problem with me later on down the road with when I first started playing the game. I had relatively long hair. I had like fucking squall like parted hair, just long and like part in the middle and just like going downward, like Ultimate Grunge Wolverine, from the Ultimate Comics, where his hair is not forked as it usually is, not the owl man kind of thing, just like kind of just down at both sides, a little short in the back, and just like it's like puddling basin, But every time I got my hair on my eyes, or just had to like fix my hair because it's gorgeous and it's jet black, made of awesomeness, I just found myself getting good sword clashing noises right up against my ear. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Ah, my ear! Ah, it scared the shit out of me. And this is when I still had the Wii strap on my Wiimote, but I took that shit off as soon as I could figure out how to take it off. So it's like all free, you know. I got a good handy grip, you know. Interpret that in which you may. Uh, and the gameplay in itself is quite fun. It's very much a lot of people kind of chalk it up. They just remade Oracle of um, Ocarina of Time, and I don't really see that. I do see that, but Ocarina of Time had a lot more content in here. It's beautiful. It just feels this is probably the shallowest of all Zelda 3D titles. I don't want to say that in a bad way. It just lacks so much mini content. You know, like the only other side things I could think that you can do is is bug hunting, and I mean the bug gathering was not that hard. The pole soul hunting was tedious. And the impose as they were. Um, what do I think? The fishing. I really fell in love with the fishing. The fishing was fun. And John, screw you with a screwdriver on fire. That was fun. It's like fishing there, derp. Sorry, John. I love you, but come on, you got to give it a chance. You know, I always try to give a video game a chance, but you know, except Sonic because you know I'm an evil fuck. Um, the other thing in here, I thought I was the fishing. There's real fishing in here too. Later on down the road, and you get to do that. That was fun. I enjoyed that. And there's a boat riding. It just doesn't have that deepness as the town square did in Ocarina of Time with the mini games and other side quests. Well, that's just probably just nostalgia blinding me, obscuring the past, which I thought was better because of late now I've been playing Donkey Kong 64 again. I got my 64 up and running, and I got the expansion pack. I've been playing Donkey Kong 64, and I am somewhat, I don't want to say gravely disappointed, but I feel moderately disappointed at just some things here. It's such so much filler and padding in this game of collecting all these little things that just it doesn't feel Donkey Kong enough because I'll get into it when I get the review. I'm just saying I'm disappointed with the game, and I've been looking in the past. They're giving it 9 out of 10s. I'm like, I don't think it really deserves that. I'm just saying I love Donkey Kong. It's just I think for so many years I built it up in my head that this was a fantastic and great game, but that's a different review. I'll do that later, way later down the road. But now Zelda. Um, what things I did like the pacing of the plot was well done. I thought in here, some of the dungeons were fun. I had fun dungeons. The two dungeons I could say really off can go fuck yourself was the ice dungeon. Oh, I hated that place. The Snow Peak ruins. I hated that level. Oh, that's my annoying. The water temple. I enjoyed it. Or whatever it was. The lake bed temple. I enjoyed that one. The fire in Mount Doom, not Mount Doom, Death Mountain or whatever they call it, Moldor, or the Gorons, and the Gorons are back and they're fucking adorable as always. I love baby Gorons; they look adorable. Well, the Zorons, I kind of, it really does feel like a quasi kind of remake of Ocarina of Time, but Ocarina of Time had a lot more charm to it. In here, it feels very morose and depressing. I was talking about this with Drew, and how when shit hits a fan in this type of setting where they have it, where it's this kind of pigment type color scheme they have in here. It's very gritty. It's like somewhat if Christopher Nolan had his hand in here, you know? It just feels just really down the dumpster hole. It feels like not so much the independent, the doom that surrounds their head like in Mandra's Mask, where like in 3 days we're all fucked. In here, it just feels like all the time. It feels like they're in the depression. It just feels like a really shitty time in the life of Hyrule, and it doesn't have that charm. It doesn't have that cutesiness as where there's a whole Giovanni side quest. He's made out of gold and the cats. But I find myself just really bummed out by this. It didn't have the color bright scheme for I think that Ocarina of Time at the time, for the graphical limitations that was. It just had a brighter color scheme. The characters felt more vibrant. In here, it just felt everything is just so dull and drab in the color scheme. It's like a little bit of Gears of War is bleeding into Zelda. I'm not saying the cover mechanics, but it's just blah. Other things I'll point on, the whole Minda thing with her, she's being a hint system like Navi. I didn't mind Minda as much as just her laughing, and the laugh coming out of my Wiimote was a bit off-putting when I first had it. It was kind of annoying. Other things I would enjoy, I like Minda's character. There's a possible so-called shippers, as it were. Like, we all know the Ocarina of Time of people making romances between Link and Ramona and Link and all the other chicks in the game. And though I do have a thing that I think Link is related to Zelda somehow, because the whole thing of I'll get into that later in my Zelda timeline rant and myth and crap. That's long for another time. So things to looking for. Don't change that dial. Um, huh. Any other complaints? It's just I gotta say this is has to be the weakest of the 3D games, or my view has been skewed by nostalgia. What do you think? Leave a comment. If you're a big Zelda fan, please clue me in what you thought this title was. Do you think it should have been just strictly on the GameCube and they should have just worked on Skyward Sword right off the bat? Which I really like the look of Skyward Sword. It's a fusion between, as they say, Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. But the other thing, I think of it as kind of like a new look to Ocarina of Time. It looks exactly like Ocarina of Time would in this day and age. Just a little touch up the graphics and brightness. That's all. Um, uh, though I don't regret playing it, I just felt a little bummed out. And the whole plot with Ganondorf being the big bad at the end with whole Zant, I thought it was a big kind of echoing of A Link to the Past with Aghanim and him pulling the strings behind Aghanim and all that crap. I just felt really not necessarily that there's a whole trope in that. I just find that it's just um I just thought it was just maybe that's a good thing that they did in there because they do I don't want to say rehash but reuse ideas and characters and forms and images and beasts, creatures from other Zelda games because they like that. But that's probably the whole timeline thing started from because the fans liked creature A in this game, so let's put creature A in this game, and somehow they tried somehow because creature A is in this game and that game, so somehow they must be connected through some type of chronological order. Blah blah blah. That's the whole timeline started from. As we all know, like Nintendo is just pumping out these games because the fans like those creatures, and familiarity is safe. Unknown is dangerous and scary. So yeah. I've been rambling on. This is probably my longer videos. Usually I do these about 6 to 7 minutes, but hell, it was a Zelda game. It was epic. It took me like 80 hours to beat to try to get everything. I 100%ed it. I got all the Poe souls and the golden bugs and everything because I'm OCD like that. So if you're a Zelda fan, you're a hardcore Zelda fan. I wouldn't say I'm a hardcore Zelda fan, but I'm a Zelda fan. I was going to contemplating getting the Triforce tattoo on my left hand, but with the inside each triangle would be like wisdom, power, and courage inside the things like handwritten inside. But I don't know. But anyway, give me your thoughts. Am I rambling? But yeah, and may the force of evil become confused on the way to your house. Bye.